Transforming Trauma, Unit 6. A workshop presentation developed by Dr. Julian Watchorn on behalf of the Foster and Kinship Carers Association of Tasmania. This workshop received support from the Sydney Myer Fund. In Unit 6 of this series, we'll explore a set of guiding principles for working with children who've experienced trauma. 1. Trauma significantly alters baseline arousal levels in children. Children benefit from care environments which pay attention to their mood, focus on adjusting their sensory stimulation to help them stay physically present, feel safe to connect with others, and engage predictable strategies from carers that reduce reactivity and minimise volatile responses. 2. Trauma reduces cortical capacity, that is brain capacity, to regulate subcortical, as in unconscious, activation in children. Carers may benefit from understanding that traumatised children are likely to find it difficult to utilise reasoning and logic to modify their behaviour or reactions. These children are also unlikely to learn from consequences, particularly when they're in a heightened arousal state. Carers can avoid the frustration associated with the failure of traditional parenting approaches by increasing their knowledge of trauma. If we can understand that trauma acts to scramble thinking and reduce children's capacity to be guided by rule-based frames of behaviour, we'll be less likely to rely on such parenting methods. 3. Trauma disrupts memory functioning in children. Children are likely to benefit from strategies which support stressed memory systems, including the introduction of visual cues to prompt short-term memory rehearsal and recall, repetition of episodic and narrative structures, as in routines, and the establishment of routines to structure behavioural rehearsal. Trauma disconnects children from relational resources that can reduce its negative effects. 4. Traumatised children will require opportunities to experience attachment relationships which offer consistency, nurture, and predictability. Carers need to understand the significance of daily exchanges with children, knowing that each exchange with their carer can help children to develop ways of experiencing the world and relationships that counteract previous attachment patterns. Increasing carer sensitivity to attuned communication with children is a core competency for caring for children with trauma backgrounds. 5. Trauma-based behaviour is functional at the time in which it develops as a response to threat. Carers can be supported to understand the purpose and meaning of trauma-based behaviour in children, helping to shift their interpretations away from blame to greater acknowledgement of the ongoing impact of children's abuse experiences. This approach enables carers to develop the confidence to plan to respond to children. 6. Trauma limits children's response flexibility and adaptability to change. Traumatised children may get stuck due to constant trauma triggers, and so enact patterns of defensive behaviour that make sense in light of their initial trauma, but may not seem obvious to those around them. It's important for carers to understand that while in these triggered states, children have little capacity to reshape their responses without the intentional seeking of support of adults in their immediate care environment. Carers will need to focus on introducing change in small increments, preparing and supporting children to become accustomed to one change before initiating another. In this context, carers and others can be supported to understand the benefits of predictability and routine for children, as well as the need for practicing flexible responses in acts of daily living. 7. Trauma undermines identity formation in children. Children are likely to benefit from reinforcement by carers and others for examples of qualities that denote positive sense of self and resource personal strengths and abilities. Carers will need to be resourced to understand the significance of their role in nurturing an emerging self-identity. 8. Trauma diminishes social skills and isolates children from peers. Children with trauma backgrounds need support to engage positively with their peers in social situations. Carers and other individuals will need to appreciate the importance of their role in modelling social skills and respectful interactions. This will resource traumatised children to build a network of relationships which promote connection and afford further opportunities to reconstruct their attachment styles. 9. Social engagement. The place we would like our children to be with us is in a place of social engagement. Social engagement occurs when the child feels safe in a relationship and connected with another. When a child is in this place, we have the best opportunity to help calm and soothe the child. It is when we are socially engaged that we have the opportunity to put all of our repair strategies into place. Arousal and the window of tolerance. Our ultimate aim in the home is to have a situation of regulation where we can socially engage with children and they can engage with us. For this to happen, the child needs to regulate their arousal to remain within the window of tolerance. The window of tolerance is the area of regulated arousal where social engagement can occur. Above this window of arousal is fight or flight response or freeze, and below this is a state of submission or numbness or hopeless and helplessness. So that when there's dysregulated arousal, there is not means for communication, and the child is either hyper or hypo-aroused. And our aim is to bring them back into the window of tolerance. The regulated child will be engaged with you, their peers and themselves. He or she will have eye contact, speak with intonation, get to task, change facial expressions, turn head for listening, remain calm, and be responsive and intuitive. A child with dysregulated arousal might be action-orientated, hypervigilant, impulsive, emotionally flooded, reactive, defensive, or self-destructive. The key to understanding traumatised children is to remember that they will often, at baseline, be in a state of low-level fear, and that their emotional behaviour and thinking will reflect this, often in a regressed state. As a result, their brain may be in a very different state than that of other children. A calm child will process information very differently from one who is in an alarm state.